Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:32, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Merrimack Planning Board for December 6th, 2022. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's go through our usual housekeeping items. Remind everybody that I'll address the board that make sure the microphones are turned on and you speak clearly into them so the folks at home can hear you. Let's see. Our next meeting after tonight is December 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. in this room, the Matthew Thornton room. And let's see. Our alternates tonight. Got two alternates here, and we're missing two people, so that's just the right number. Everybody's into a voting position. How about that? All right. Let's see. That is it for the usual housekeeping items. Let's move on to the Planning and Zoning Administrator's report. Robert, do you have a report for us?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Chair.
Does any member of the board have any questions for the staff? Seeing none, let's move on to item 3 on our agenda, which is our consent agenda. And there are 3 items on the consent agenda. What is the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. What are we consenting to? It's not clear to me what the request is from the memo that we have. I think I understand it, but maybe Robert could explain it to us. I think a couple of them have to do with regional impacts and what's
Okay.
the other?
So if it is the desire to have conversations about these, we would have to remove them from the consent agenda, and then we could ask our questions and vote on them separately. Are you looking to have explanations on both A and B from the agenda?
I'm not sure what A and B are. I'm sorry.
So
Do you have an agenda?
Move to pull the consent agenda and discuss it.
Okay. Is there a second to move to pull the items from the consent agenda and discuss them?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, so the consent agenda items are open for discussion. The first one is regional impact determinations. And there's a memo in the package, or at least in my package, that recommends that, let's see, is it neither project is of regional impact? Is that correct, Robert?
That's correct. No project has been deemed a regional impact.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different projects. None of them are. Discussion on that item.
Okay, I have no problem with that. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to adopt the staff's recommendation?
I would so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, unanimous to adopt the regional impact determinations. Item B is a request for an extension of 6 months for conditional approval for a lot line adjustment located at 12 and 14 Dodier Court. Is there any discussion on that item?
I'm clear on that. I'll move that we agree to the, I guess we are agreeing to the extension of time.
That's right, granting the
Granting
extension
the-
request.
The extension.
Is there a second for Nelson's motion?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to grant item number 2 as the extension request. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 7-0-0.
Okay.
Nelson,
Sorry
you
about
think-
that.
No,
It
there's no
just
reason.
wasn't clear to me, yeah.
No need to apologize. We just have to, we're still getting used to this idea of having a consent agenda in the first place. So it takes a little bit for us. Okay. Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. Actually, Robert, let me pause for a second and make sure. Is there any need to offer any announcements to members of the public regarding things that are going to be continued tonight? In case they don't want to stay and watch that? I didn't sort of look ahead and keep score as to what's what here.
I think this case is, since it was before the board, you unfortunately weren't here, Bob, but this case has already been before the board recently, so we'll probably get through it relatively quickly and then start going through the other items one by one.
Okay. But it looks like LMG has asked for continuance, as has Torres, and as life goes on. So if anybody's here for those items, you don't have to wait around for us. Okay. Number 4, Hoyle Tanner and Associates as the applicant and BAE Systems Inc. as the owner. Continued review for acceptance and consideration of final approval of a site plan for the construction of a 5,000 square foot support building, 2 radome structures, and other associated improvements. The parcel is located at 130 DW Highway in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 2D lot 6, case planning board 2022-35, and it's continued from the October 18th and November 15th, 2022 planning board meetings. Robert, is there anything that we need to know before we hear from the applicant?
Sure, just by way of summary, the board recalls this applicant was here November 15th and briefly introduced the project to the board. At that time, we did not yet have peer review comments back, and there were a couple of items that we didn't have, so the board did not take any action on recommending, on determining the completeness of the application. The board did give the applicant a general feeling, a general consensus on its position on the waivers. So given that discussion last time, staff now, and the fact that we now have peer review comments in hand and there's nothing, alarming in them, staff's taking the position that the board can accept the application as complete for review, and that the board can take action on the 4 waiver requests that the applicant has presented. 1 being from provision of a landscaping plan, 1 provision of an illumination plan, 2 pertaining to showing all property lines and bounds and bearings and distances because the property is just such a significant piece of property. And the last 1 pertaining to traffic impact analysis, which is discussed last time. There's no new employees here whatsoever, so the board kind of gave the general consensus that they would be supportive of that waiver. So at this time, staff would agree.
Does the staff support all 4 waivers, did you say, Robert?
Yeah, at this time we do.
Okay, thank you. All right, please introduce yourself and tell us where we stand with the project.
Sure. Good evening, Bill Davidson from Hoyle Tanner. I was here 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, and we had just received, or we hadn't received the peer review. Since that time, we've received the peer review, gone through the plans, responded to all the comments that they had, and resubmitted. So that's what these plans are here. Probably the easiest sheet to go through is C5. Pretty sure everybody has their own packages that they can follow along. I did a brief overview. I'll go through that because there were some people that weren't present for that. But this is BAE Systems. It's off the DW Highway, 130. It's in the industrial 1 zone as well as the Aquifer Conservation District. We did go to the Conservation Commission and do a presentation there. They had some very minor comments. We incorporated those into the plans as well. It's bordered by the DW Highway, Manchester, and Alpol. So if you did want to see where this is actually on the 135 acres on, I think it's C3, the existing conditions plan. In the bottom left, there's a small insert that shows the fenced-in area that is on the overall site. So you can see it's quite a distance from the property, from the property lines. There is going to be a 5,000 square foot. Can you guys hear me? Yep.
Yep.
So in the middle here, this is a 5,000 square foot building that's going to be proposed. And then there's 2 radomes, which are the large canvas-sized domes that you see. This one's a oblong, and this one's a radius. There's a transmittal tower that's attached to this building. There will be an access way that comes in to a very small parking lot and some access paths to the radomes. We had talked about 4 different waivers, and I can go through in detail if you'd like in a minute about each one of those. On C6, we have a grading and drainage plan. This sheet shows there's a there's a sediment forebay and then a detention basin that's in this area here with an outlet structure that flows to a treatment swale and then down off into the interior of the property. This detention basin we currently have received, this is an AOT permit project, which means that there's over 100,000 square feet of disturbance on the project. So we need to go through New Hampshire DES and do a alteration of terrain permit. We've done that. We've submitted that. We've received comments back. We're in the process of addressing those comments, and that should be resubmitted to DES later this week. I think it's going to be Friday, but we got to get some things printed. And then that should be a quick turnaround, so we should have our AOT permit for that fairly soon as well. And then I would imagine after this meeting, we'll get some responses back from the third party or the engineering review, and there will most likely be some cleanup things that we'll be able to do. But we should be able to get through the project fairly quickly. If you'd like, I can answer some questions, or I can go through the 4 waivers, or if you've already looked at the waivers, or however you'd like me to address that.
The first, let's see, microphone on. First item for the board to consider is whether the application is complete and contains enough information for us to make a decision. Board members, do you require any additional information from the applicant in order to come to that conclusion? If not, is there a motion by the board?
I would move to say the application is complete.
Is there a second for Brian's motion?
Second.
Second by Neil. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, 700 to find the application complete. Board members, how would you like to proceed with respect to the waivers? Do you want the applicant to provide more information? Do you feel like you have enough now? Do you want to wait till after there's a chance for public hearing? What's the will? Nelson?
We can go through them. I
Okay,
just take them one at a time and.
all right.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us through them?
Sure. They're all pretty straightforward. The first one, and you should have a waiver request letter that I prepared in your package as well. But the first is section 3.14, which is a traffic impact analysis. And this site will not require any new employees from what's already currently at the site. So the traffic impact, there's going to be no additional traffic coming into the site. This building in Radomes is about 1,400 feet away from DW Highway, and there's no additional entrances or exits to the property.
Okay. What's the will of the board with respect to the waiver of the requirement that the applicant provide a traffic impact analysis? Neil,
So we move to accept the waiver.
which of the statutory criteria are you relying on?
Let's see, how about strict conformity would pose an unnecessary hardship to the applicant, and the waiver would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulation.
Excellent. Thank you, Neil. Is there a second for Neil's motion? Nelson has a second. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700. Okay. What's your next waiver request?
The next one is section 4.12A and 4.12C2. That is for the existing conditions plan. So we have prepared an existing conditions plan. Generally, in the site plan regulations, it requires a full boundary for the property. In this case, the property is almost 136 acres. We do have a reference survey that was done in the past. We're only doing a very small piece of that. And again, if I can refer you to C3, you'll see that inset in the bottom left-hand corner. So it requires that there's a boundary survey with all the meets and bounds for the entire boundary. The entire property is owned by BAE Systems, no one else. And when we did do the existing conditions plan, we tied into the existing referenced boundary plan. So we didn't feel a need to go through and resurvey the whole 136 acres for this small project.
Thank you. When was the boundary reference plan you mentioned undertaken, and which application is it a part of?
You want to make sure that you have the microphone with you?
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
Somebody stole the TV off the back wall.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So about right above the owner's signature, there's reference plans, and there's actually two reference plans for that. One is a survey that was done in 1966, which is Plan 3389, which is the original. And then there's also a subdivision plan that was done by Hayner Swanson in 1995. That's 28, plan number 28186. Those are all, both of those are recorded in the Hillsborough County Registry of Deeds.
Okay. Been no other changes to the boundaries, additions to the property, or
No, and,
subdivisions or anything else that's occurred?
nope, and this is the area interest that I was showing for our project, and then this is the overall parcel.
Okay. And so its nearest location is over 200 feet from the property line.
Correct.
Board members, what are your thoughts with respect to the request to waive those two sections pertaining to a requirement that the applicant provide a full boundary survey? Nelson?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant the waiver as requested because of the unnecessary hardship it could cause to the applicant.
Excellent. Is there a second for Nelson's motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700 to grant that waiver. Although I voted for and support the waiver, I think it is unusual to be looking that far back in time at some plans, but obviously there's nothing really that's changed in the parcel, so it's one that I can get comfortable with. But I don't think that I would normally have gone back to a 66 plan for the boundaries. Okay, waiver number 3, what do you got?
Waiver number 3 is section 4.14 for a landscaping plan. This site, when we're complete, will be fully stabilized and vegetated, but it's not going to have a formal landscaping like you would see in a retail or a commercial, even commercial development, and that's due to this. There's no public access to this site. It's a very secure site, and there's really no need for the formal landscaping. But there will be grass, and it'll be vegetated and stabilized. It won't be bare ground.
It's to me. Board members, questions or a potential motion? Nelson?
I'll move to grant the waiver due to the fact that the size and scope of this project and the unnecessary hardship it would cause to the applicant to provide a landscaping plan for this site.
Okay. Is there a second for Nelson's motion?
Second.
We got Maureen this time. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700. Okay, your fourth and last.
Yep, last one, section 4.16 is with an illumination plan. Again, due to the location, security type of this user, they had requested that they only have wall packs on the building. Typically, you would see light poles and things for the parking, but that's not what they were looking to do because of the use of the building.
Excellent. I have a technical question of Robert, and maybe this applies to the landscaping plan as well. We're waiving not only the plan, but the fact of doing any landscaping. And not only a plan for lighting, but they're not going to provide any lighting.
That's
So
correct.
we're kind of waiving two things.
Right.
Are these the only sections of the regulation we need to cite in order to be able to do those things together?
Yeah, these are the appropriate sections.
Okay. It seemed that the requirement to have a plan and the requirement that the plan talk about specific lighting would be more than one section. But,
Waiving section 4.16 as a whole eliminates all of those.
oh, there's all the subsections in there. I gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions about the request to waive the lighting plan?
Just a quick question.
Yes, please.
Just so I did see there's a small parking lot, so you don't feel necessary to put any lighting in that small parking lot?
No, the owner did not feel that necessary.
Discussion. Is there a motion? Neil?
Yeah, I make a motion that we accept the waiver for the lighting plan.
Based on which of the criteria?
Unnecessary hardship to the applicant.
Is there a second for Neil's motion?
Second.
Several of them. We'll call Brian second.
Sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700 to grant that waiver. General discussion with the applicant about the content of their proposal. Nelson?
Well, are we going to, I guess the presentation is over. I had a few problems with this, which I've subsequently resolved a little bit. But when I looked at this site, I never got a picture of what this whole thing's going to look like. In our view of the finished product, it just showed a view of the building, a metal building in there. And I never got a picture of what the overall would be like, other than the description that Bob gave us verbally tonight. I didn't have any of that. I had a hard time finding it on the site. Eventually, I got steered to that on page C3, and it's way in the back and not going to be too obnoxious, I don't believe. But I don't know what it's going to look like, and I guess I would like to have seen that as part of the application rather than just a picture of the tin building that's going in there.
So an understanding of what are these things called? Radomes?
Radomes, they're typical white canvas globes that you see.
How big are they?
They're huge. They're very large.
Yeah.
Closer to more precise than huge.
The largest one that we have here, this dimension is 70 by 140. There's a 35-foot radius on them. And then these, this is a 30-foot radius circle.
Height-wise?
Height's a good question. I believe that this one here is again 30 feet high. And this would most likely be 35 feet high.
So
I don't know that.
is it a dome or is it a half dome? I mean, if the radius is 30 and it's a dome, you're going to be 60 feet up, right?
I honestly don't know the answer to your question, and not that it's a bad question. I just don't know the answer to it. I don't think it's a complete, I don't think it's a complete dome, because then it would be, it actually
Yeah.
goes on the base, it'd be like a sitting on a spear, so I don't think that's the case, but they're very similar to the ones that they already have on site. And this is a replication of, they're actually, I didn't explain this earlier, but they have this exact same site and footprint in Litchfield, and that's what this is replacing. They're removing the site in Litchfield and relocating it on this site here.
Do you know if they're bigger or smaller than the ones that are currently out there?
I do not. I think that they're the same size as what's out there. I don't think they're gonna be larger than what you have out there right now. When we get into we did the site design here, and when we get into the actual, there's an architect obviously for the buildings and such, but they have the radomes, and I really don't know a lot about what takes place on the inside of that. And, it's a secure site, so, I don't have a lot of details on that.
Yeah, understood. And I think that to Nelson's point, that section of Daniel Webster Highway is sort of the southern entrance into town, and you think about what the appearance are for things down there. I think also in support of that idea of wondering what they look like, sort of curious as to what the profile will be from the road and what you would see and how it would look and that sort of thing. On the other side of the coin, we don't have a height restriction or any requirement in our regulations that would allow us to judge the height and say, well, that's too tall or too short or otherwise. So that's probably why the applicant didn't provide us that information. But it's up for you, board members, to decide what to do with that situation. About wondering what they look like.
That was my question. I wonder what they look like, and I would like to seen it as part of the plan.
So there are a couple existing radomes there. I think there's 3 or 4. And then the oblong one, from my understanding, would be bigger than the spherical radomes that exist currently.
You said site is the same as the one from Litchfield.
Yes.
Are you able with that computer there to use Google Maps or satellite view to give us a view of what that looks like? I know I'm sort of asking you on the fly to be able to.
No, it's the town, so it should be connected. If not, I've got it up.
It's like a big igloo.
I think that sounds right.
As I remember the Litchfield site, it's back off the road and it's lined up perpendicular to the road. Is that right?
Robert's
Mr. Chair?
gonna come plug
Yeah,
in. It looks like you don't have internet connection on that
I
computer.
do at least have it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've got it. Yep.
Can you hook that up to this guy? No. That's the one in Litchfield.
Thank you.
The small one won't be bigger than the ones that exist in Merrimack now.
Where's
That's
the
my
Bancroft
belief,
Highway?
yes. This
Not gonna take
site
up
is
much room.
almost a direct copy of the Litchfield site. It's very specific. They have certain dimensions and distances that need to be met.
So is that the proposed area?
Thought it was called the Bancroft Highway, Route 3A.
Did the radomes put out any energy or radio
No.
activity or radio
No.
signal?
No, that's what they actually receives, the radio. There's, from what I do know about the inside, they monitor radio
Can't tell much.
frequency.
I was
Inside.
looking, I was
So it's a
interested
listening
in the
device and a
side
transmission
view,
device, yeah.
actually, yeah.
It's a receiver.
Is everybody satisfied with having looked at Litchfield, or is there any desire?
It doesn't really show what I was looking for, Bob. I wanted to see what it would look like
From the
from
side.
really from Route 3. That's what I'm interested in. And you can't tell from that. That's an aerial overhead view. You can't even relate it to the road there, so it wasn't much help.
It looks like from the size of their parcel that this area of interest is probably a half a mile from Manchester Street and Daniel Webster Highway. Sit back off of the road. If that means anything to the.
Where is there's a long tunnel there. Where is that in relation to this project? The long white tunnel.
I don't know what the tunnel.
It looks like it's done for laser protection on the site.
I don't know where the long tunnel is.
It's
Is that
visible
something that
from
you
the
can
road.
visible from the road?
It's visible from Route 3, yeah.
Robert, is it possibly you could pull up the Merrimack site? Thank you.
So I know Neil and I were just trying to configure where this is. I think it's more towards Thomas More in the back corner there.
Correct.
It's up further in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
So there's an
look at,
existing-
Actual
Behind
fishing
where they're
game.
Putting that,
on C3 in the
Storage
corner, there's a
place,
location map
warehouse.
that kind of gives you a picture
Yeah.
of where it sits on the site.
The closest property line is the Nashua Fishing Game.
Yeah.
On your little map that shows the location, is the full length the same as what will incorporate all of this? I mean, it just shows a rectangle here. And I'm trying to relate
yeah,
that rectangle to,
Yep, so that's that that full rectangle is actually an existing fence. So the existing fence line is larger than what this actual development is.
so that whole development fits inside the fence line.
Correct.
And it fits in this square or not
The
rectangle.
the rectangle, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Robert's taking a peek at that. Let's open the floor to any abutters or citizens who wish to weigh in. Are there any abutters or citizens who wish to weigh in? I didn't think there would be. So we'll consider that to be the opening and the closing of the public hearing portion of it.
I have it up on my laptop, Neil, if you'd like to see it. Or Nelson, sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Brian.
I have it up on my laptop. I can bring it
Yeah,
over
why
to you.
don't you show it around a little bit? See if
Yeah,
we can
and
get-
also in your packet, there's 130 DW Highway print like this that shows where our property or where the project is.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
can you,
There's an existing one.
yeah,
It's gonna go back here. The two one that they're talking about. There's like some trees that jut out. It's gonna go behind.
okay, trying to find that on here. I guess it's in this area, right? That box right there, yeah, yeah. Okay, so maybe it won't even be too visible from the,
These trees are gonna block everyone from viewing it.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's in the area 1,400 feet back from DW Highway.
Yeah. Okay, and this, I'll tell you, Brian, before you go, before you go, this white line here is what I meant by the laser protection. That's visible from the road, or at least portions of it. This, I don't know when that picture you've got there was taken. This has been installed.
August of 19.
Yeah, I think that's before they built this white, this,
That might be.
I think it's that, what I called a laser protector. It was like a long tunnel of white plastic. That's visible from the road.
Yeah, I do, but I don't think I have the.
So what he's talking about is this line here. I assume that was a trail or some sort of walkway, but from the road, it does look like a raised. So, see the existing radome?
Yep. It's gonna be behind, it's gonna be on the back side of that, Nelson.
It looks like it's back there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I don't know, the discussion of the particular feature that you're talking about. I don't know, where that lies on the plan or whether it would be shown on a previous site plan or whether it's not a physical structure that, requires site plan review. But,
I
I
think
don't-
that's the correct
yeah.
answer. Yeah.
Either way, I don't know that it bears on the particular proposal the applicant's got before us. I can offer from my own opinion that having seen the couple of computer views from the street, that this is well back off of the highway where probably nobody will know that there's a new thing back there, and even if they do, it's not particularly offensive to have a look at. I think it's kind of interesting actually when you drive by it. My 2 cents. Board members, any further discussion with the applicant or potential final action on the application?
I'd be
Nelson?
ready for final action, Mr. Chair.
Okay, what's your motion?
No, I didn't have a question. I said.
Motion.
Oh,
A motion. If you're ready for final
Okay.
action, I thought that's what you wanted to make a motion.
Okay, then I move we approve the site plan with the changes discussed, with the amendments as recommended by Mr. Price, and I think he's even given me the motion to make back here. Like
Yep. In the staff memo, if you could. Yep.
the staff memo, the latest staff memo, right? Got to get this right nowadays.
I think you can just say that I make the motion shown and reflected in the staff memo without necessarily reciting it if you choose to.
Well, I found it. I found it. I make a motion to find that with the granted waivers and the recommended conditions of approval, the site plan meets all applicable regulatory requirements necessary, and to grant conditional final approval to the site plan, subject to the recommended conditions of approval presented in the staff memo dated November 20th, 2022.
November 30th.
30th, yeah.
Oh, 30th, sorry.
Is there a second for Nelson's motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700. Thank you for going through the application and our questions. Very
Yeah,
helpful.
oh, thank you very much, and I appreciate the help with
No problem.
Thank you. Okay. That's done. This is done. Agenda item 5 is LMG Merrimack LLC is the applicant and Pennachuck Corporation and LMG Merrimack LLC is the owner. Review for acceptance and consideration of final approval for a lot line adjustment. The parcels are located south of Harris Pond Drive on Daniel Webster Highway in the I-1 Industrial Aquifer Conservation Districts. Tax map 1D, lot 1 and 1/6, case planning board 2022-44. And we have got a request from the applicant. Is that
Yeah.
for this one, for both of them?
That's, well, one for each, yeah.
One for each. Request for the applicant to continue to the December 20th, 2022 meeting because of a conflict in scheduling. Before we take up that motion, Robert, is there any challenges or issues with putting it on that meeting?
Nope. Staff's supportive of that.
Okay. Board members, then discussion or potential motion.
Move to grant the
Request
the request to
to a change of the,
change the date
With no further notice to a butter.
with no further notice to abutters.
Okay, is there a second for Tom's motion?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Nelson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700 to grant the continuance to December 20th with no further notice to abutters. Item 6 on our agenda, LMG Merrimack LLC is the applicant and owner. Review for acceptance and consideration of final approval for a site plan to construct a 100,115 square foot warehouse building. The parcel is located south of Harris Pond Drive on Daniel Webster Highway in the I-1 Industrial and Aquifer Conservation Districts, tax map 1D, lot 16, case planning board 2022-45. Same story as before, request from the applicant to continue to the meeting 2 weeks hence with no further notice to abutters. So what say you?
I would so move.
Is there a second for Brian's motion?
Second.
Neil? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700 to grant that one. Okay, next item is 7 on our agenda. S.J. Torres as the applicant and Orrin H. Connell Family Trust as the owner. Review for consideration of a waiver of full site plan review to permit a variety of temporary event uses on site. The parcel is located at 454 Daniel Webster Highway in the C2 General Commercial Aquifer Conservation Elderly Housing and Town Center Overlay Districts, tax map 5D4, lot 54, case planning board 2022-46. And this applicant has also requested a continuance to December 20th, 2022 meeting. Robert, is there any challenges putting this one on that agenda?
Nope, that's fine.
Board members? Questions, discussion?
We're
or
getting a
motion?
lot of stuff on the 20th.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I got better news for you. I ain't gonna be here.
No, that's good news for you. It's not good news for us.
Well, except that say where I am gonna be is at somebody else's planning board meeting, and that one I think is in Gorham. So hoping for a
It'd
little
be a-
white Christmas for me.
It'd be a snowy night.
Yeah, that's right. Either that or the next night's in Gorham, one or the other. Anyway, what is the will of the board with respect to this request from the applicant?
Move to grant the continuance for S.J. Torres, applicant and Orrin Connell Family Trust owners,
No further notice to abutters.
with no further notice to abutters.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Jamie. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700. Okay. The next item is McDonald's USA LLC as the applicant and CP Merrimack LLC as the owner. Review for consideration of a waiver of full site plan review to reconfigure the existing single order point drive-through window with a dual order point configuration. The parcel is located at 9 Dobson Way in the C2 General Commercial and Aquifer Conservation Districts and Wellhead Protection Area, tax map 4D, lot 54-3. Case Planning Board 2022-47. Robert, is there anything that we need to know before we hear from the applicant?
So this is a waiver of full site plan review request in order for McDonald's to install a second drive-through ordering point on site. In order to do that and create the bypass lane needed, they need to eliminate 12 parking spaces between them and the abutting Papagino's property. However, so that will put them short of on-site parking from what the town requirements are. However, there is a parking agreement in place with the Shaw's Plaza that affords McDonald's 12 parking spaces conveniently enough. So while they will be short on-site, and they have requested a separate waiver for parking that the board can roll into the overall waiver of full site plan review, the essential net change is going to be 0 in the total loss of spaces available to them, unless you want to factor. I apologize, I misspoke. So they're losing 12 spaces on site. They have 12 spaces available to them off site. So they are losing 12 spaces overall. Yeah, I apologize for misspeaking. There's no net change of 0.
Please introduce yourself and tell us about the proposal.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Allen. I work with Bowler Engineering. As a civil engineer on the project here representing McDonald's tonight. As Robert mentioned, we're requesting a waiver from full site plan review as well as a waiver from the parking requirements included with that. To kind of just want to introduce the site, give you guys a quick overview of kind of what's existing out there today. So on 9 Dobson Way here, the McDonald's restaurant, they have a full access drive from Dobson onto the site. And then it's really just one-way circulation around the site. And they have a single order drive-through. As you can see, kind of back here is where the single order location is. So customers come in, they'll go through, make their order at the order point, go to the pay window, pay, hit the next window to pick up their food, and then come out of the site. As Robert mentioned, there's a total of 27 parking stalls on site today. And so what McDonald's is looking to propose is a reconfiguration of the drive-through. And the reconfiguration proposes 2 lanes and 2 order points with the intention to really improve drive-through operations out there. The proposed improvements aren't intended to drive any additional traffic to the site. It's really just to better manage the existing traffic on site. With that second order point, it kind of eliminates the pinch point with that single order, where say you get that large car full of 6, 7 kids in it and they're making 6 or 7 orders. It's going to take a little bit of time. With that second order point, while that kind of vehicle's making that order, it allows other patrons to make their order and food orders to continue processing to kind of keep the traffic flowing through the drive-through. As was mentioned, they're going to lose 12 parking spaces, but they do have a shared agreement with the Shaw's Plaza for 12 additional ones. So the total parking stalls will be 27 that they're allowed, and that's in compliance with the 23 that are needed through the zoning regulations. Also, kind of associated with this work, they'll be relocating 88 stalls slightly south here, and then a new ADA connection and reconstructing the sidewalk just for compliance with ADA requirements there. Associated with that, they'll also be extending the public walk kind of along the curbing here. So this will be the connection to the public sidewalk there provided. Show you guys a demo red plan here, which shows the demo work in red and then over the concept plan. So you can kind of see the changes that are kind of occurring out there.
So give me a sense of what's left for non-ADA parking on your site.
Non-ADA parking. So you'd have the 2 ADA parking stalls here, and then 2, 4, 6. So 6 below the ADA parking stalls, and then 5 over here. And there's also 2 pull forward spaces here for drive-through traffic.
So those 6 that you first went to on the same row with the ADA ones,
Yep.
2 of them are black, dark black, and 3 of them are light. Those are out there today?
Yeah, so there are parking. The lighter ones are the ones existing. The darker ones, those are proposed mobile order stalls. So customers making orders mobilely pull in there, and then they'll bring out their food for them.
So if I want to park and go in your store and sit down, where do I park?
You would park either in these lower spaces down here. You could park within these spaces over here, or again, the shared parking stalls over here.
Where do your employees park?
Their employees, I'm not too certain on that.
You've taken away all the parking that people that use the restaurant use. And now you're asking them to move further away from the building or across the road to areas that currently don't get used at all. You realize that?
Yeah, so the real intention of this is kind of really improve like the drive-through traffic that's coming.
Yeah, but the people that come into your restaurant have nowhere to go. I mean, they're either walking across the drive-through traffic lane that's picking up their food, or
After they
coming
cross
across
Dobson
Dobson
Way.
Road. I mean, either one of those, or they're stuffed in the corner back by the trash container. It just seems kind of rude to me, but and very unworkable for the people that try to go into your restaurant. Have you ever been there?
I've not been into that restaurant now.
I can tell.
I don't go there a whole lot, but even the couple of times that I go there now, your queue for the drive-through is already blocking all your parking spaces that you have now, and it's very difficult to park anywhere on the site if you want to walk in the door. And that, taking away 12 spaces and magnifying the number of people that can fit in a queue seems like putting too much in not enough space. I can tell you, as a customer, 0 chance I would ever park in the Shaw's parking lot, cross Dobson Way, cross your drive-through lane, walk 3/4 of the way around the building, or not 3/4, at least 1/4 of the way around the building to find a door to come into that. Why would we propose that?
Could I add something?
Please.
One of the things that I see that it would be beneficial is because, especially around lunchtime and sometimes in the morning, the traffic goes all the way down the road where like the liquor store is. Dobson, yeah.
But that's not gonna change. So you don't
Well,
deliver
it
food
would,
any faster.
what it would do is, what I've seen it do, so you have the 2 lanes, so now you have 2 lanes inside of the parking lot instead of people lined up down there.
There's
Yeah, you have
only-
a little bit of
There's
stretch
only a
of 2
very
lanes.
small piece of 2 lanes there.
And then they gotta merge back into each other, and there's
They
still
come in
only
as
so
one
much
lane.
food going out the window.
They split it too at the order entry.
Right.
The additional kind of lane and configuration does provide additional stacking. Probably
Yeah,
as
for
you-
about 2 or 3 cars maybe.
I think it's closer to 5 or 6, as you can see here with the red. That's that existing lane. It's being pulled back, so it is getting longer here, and then there's just additional vehicles like within the secondary lane here and the primary lane. So it's probably gonna say those 5 vehicles that are backed out onto Dobson Street there, they will now be on the site instead. So it's really just, it's intended to improve the drive-through traffic, the stacking, and like I mentioned, that pinch point, when you do have that larger order that does hold up traffic, this helps them keep processing orders and vehicles to keep moving through the drive-through and keep traffic moving.
Do you have any information on the amount of in-person eating and the amount of drive-through, like what the percentages are?
I don't have the exact percentages on that, but I do know like the drive-through traffic coming out of like COVID obviously has like increased, and that's kind of the reason they're looking to do these improvements that you see a lot of their McDonald's.
I didn't miss half of that last statement. Could you repeat it?
Oh, just that this like drive-through configuration with the 2 lanes they're
Yeah.
looking to implement to just really improve traffic based on the amount of increased drive-through traffic that like they've seen. So they're just really looking to better manage their existing drive-through traffic.
I hear the words you're using, but that's not what this does. This is gonna make the traffic massively worse and put pedestrians all over the place, have 2 different lines of cars wrapping around the building instead of one. And you still can't put food out the window any faster than 1 car at a time. This site is just not big enough to do this unless you wanted to make it a 100% drive-through business with no foot traffic or actual in-store traffic. And even then, I don't even know if you've got enough on-site for your employees. How many people staff at McDonald's on a shift?
I think typically probably about 8.
You don't even have 8 spaces. I guess you do. Yeah.
Well, you're taking away 12. I mean, he has that many spaces, but he's already taken away 12 from what he
Yeah.
had. And not added any more.
Am I correct? Did you say that the requirement for this site was 27,
23.
23? And you're taking away 12, you don't, do you even have 23 on site?
So they're getting the 12 on the other side.
So to meet the requirement now, you're already borrowing parking from Shaw's?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, there's already
Yes.
a waiver in place.
Yeah.
I sat on the board when this was originally approved,
I'm just not.
and
I'm
there
not
was a
sure.
requirement. They put those 12 spots available over in the Shaw's lot just so they could meet the parking requirements.
Okay, so that is the case. So, I mean, in lieu of that, then wouldn't be in favor of it if we're taking away something that was previously required for a site and now you're adding.
Yeah, and I know that they could get an infinite number of more spaces from Shaw's, but the Shaw's spaces are
Not good.
an illusion.
Crossing the Dobson Way, I see people flying through there all the time,
Yeah.
like really booking through there. I mean, if that were the case, then what do you do? Put in a stoplight? A crosswalk? A crosswalk? A crosswalk? Well, I'm just saying, it
Yeah,
doesn't seem like a safe alternative to people crossing Dobson Way to get over
Yeah,
to the restaurant.
and they do have a crosswalk there, but still, nonetheless, nobody is going to make that trek across Dobson Way to get to McDonald's. Unless it's, kids on a Friday night who aren't paying attention and aren't looking and running together.
Or I've seen truck drivers pull over there, so which has been convenient for them. My thoughts too is because I can see why there is a problem and why looking to alleviate, not that I want to mention any other restaurant's name, but there's another restaurant that has kind of that problem at high peak areas and have somebody actually go outside with like a iPad and take orders so that to kind of keep the lines moving. So, but it is complex.
Do you have a measurement of the improved stacking ability, or you just guesstimated about 5 cars
Just a quick estimate, it's probably about 5 or 6
before the
vehicles.
orders?
Oh,
Okay.
before the
Or
order
the order
point?
point, or from the order point back? That's where people said the cars get out onto Dobson Way. It doesn't look to me like you're adding more than about 3,
So, I mean,
or maybe even less because you're pulling it way back from where it used to be,
yeah,
the
so
order point.
Yeah, so where it used to be, there's probably have 2 cars that can stack in front of that order point before it backs up and like. So there's only 3 cars really in front of that order point that can fit to like the pay window, and then another 2 to the
If
pickup
that many,
window.
yeah.
So bringing that back, there will be more stacking, so vehicles can continue to kind of move there. So it's probably 1 or 2, but prior to the stacking point, probably about 3 or 4 cars. I would estimate additional with this, with the 2 order points.
You're moving the ordering points, correct?
Yes, so they're
Okay.
shifting back.
That's indicated by the 2 boxes.
Yeah, these 2 boxes here are the 2 order points, and then kind of the
And
red
so-
one here is the existing one out there today.
Tom, I don't want to speed you up.
Is the red being removed or
Yeah, I
is the
don't
red
wanna
the
overspeed. I know
added?
you were saying.
Red is removed.
Yeah, okay. You're actually changing the building, the edge of the building from red to black. You moved it.
Now, the buildings within that, that's sort of the landscape
Curving.
island or whatever happens to be sitting in it, but the building itself is the rectangle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's
Sorry.
no changes
Sorry.
to the
Yep,
building
got
proposed.
it.
So we currently have, did we increase the car stacking, number not too long ago, didn't we? Isn't it 10? I believe.
I'd have to look it up. I don't know it.
That one kind of sticks in my head just because of the whole, Tuckus, the 360 thing, but, so moving those spots back there, do you even have the room to stack 10 cars to meet the requirement?
Yeah, I mean, they would be able to stack 10 cars on site. Yeah, so I mean, they would-
Without it impeding anything? Without it
That's-
impeding coming
that's
around
a better
the,
question.
sorry?
Without it impeding anything is a better question.
Well, I mean, right, without it coming down around the front of the building there where it looks like you only have the single lane or whatnot.
yeah, you're saying to like the recirculation lane here.
Yeah, so that wouldn't, like, if you have 10 cars stacked in there, is it gonna affect your plan for a recirculate, because then that's out the window.
Yeah, it'd be probably close to the end here. Just look, but we
I'd be curious to see how far that is, with,
yeah, we do like
It-
a stacking exhibit to show you
Yeah,
kind of where
yeah,
the vehicles
exactly.
lay out. Maybe that's existing there today, and then what's proposed. And
So, I know that you've asked for a waiver of full site plan review, but obviously the number of cars and how they stack in your lanes is part of our normal site plan review for a drive-through window. And, it's up to the board to decide whether you feel like you need to have that information to decide the application's complete. I certainly would like to see that information, but at the same time, maybe the applicant's catching the vibe, but I don't know. I would support this even if you could stack 20 cars there. That'd be almost worse. If you could stack more, I mean, this is no longer a sit-down restaurant when you do away with all the parking like this and you tell people across the street and all that stuff. It's just too much on the site. It's way overloaded. And I'm not persuaded that it'll work one bit better for the people that are in that drive-through. Because once again, you still got the same number of people handing the same amount of food out the same window. You just made the cars line up different. Now, we haven't even decided whether it's complete, so it's not necessarily the appropriate time to sort of give that kind of a decision or review. But I think it's important information for the applicant to hear and decide how they want to proceed with their application. Although I could decide it's complete without the stacking information, I'm not sure I'm doing you any favors if I did that. Because then you get to a substantive vote.
yeah, could we request a continuance?
You can.
Review more, provide additional information on that.
Yeah, I don't think you could make the December 20th one if you're going to submit new information. It'd probably
Okay.
be longer than that, but You probably want more time than that too. So.
When would the next hearing be after that?
First
2023.
Tuesday in January is the 3rd, and then the 17th.
To
Robert?
make the January 3rd, we'd have to have new information by the 13th, so it's 1 week, if that's enough time for you.
And then other than that, you said it was the 17th.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Unless you go ahead and make it a drive-through only and lock the doors.
Yeah,
I don't see it anyway. This plan would
Yeah,
work.
I mean, rallies and checkers, that's their model. They're two lines of drive through and there's nobody inside and they don't need any parking.
Yeah,
But
I'm sorry, Bob.
go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
I was gonna say, if I'm correct, I thought McDonald's had owned a property over on Amherst Street in Nashua, and it's only drive-through only.
It's not pressed.
Is it now pressed?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
McDonald's
but that location, I mean, there's tons of cars around that one all day long, and it seems to work there.
So I'm pretty torn on this one. Like, I'd be more in favor of it if it were drive-through only. Parking there is tight now, and I get what they're trying to do, and I know McDonald's throughout the nation is trying to move to the double drive-through model. This parcel's pretty tough, and obviously you've got the feedback here that I don't know. I don't see people crossing into the Shaw's parking lot either, unless maybe you did signage or
There is an existing sign out there, I believe.
okay.
How about parking on the other
Yeah,
side?
but-
Yeah,
yeah,
there
street
is,
parking over
absolutely.
there.
And nobody used it. Well,
Yeah.
maybe a couple of truckers do.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that once you park over there and then you've got to walk over to the crosswalk and then cross over to the roadway and then the drive-through way and then go around the building, the actual distance that you have to walk is about 4 times the distance that it was to straight line to the door, because of all that. Even the 5 spaces that are on the drive-through window side of the building,
Never
the
get
people who
used.
park there got to go walk all the
All
way
the way around the building.
past the building up to the crosswalk, which they're not going to do. They're going to cross right in front of the cars that are in your lane, and they're going to try to find a door over there. And I think there kind of is one by the end of the crosswalk, and that's why this doesn't work. I think that we as a board always go a long way towards being open-minded with people's presentations if they can show me something that works. But I don't want to adopt something just out of the sense that, we're somehow supportive of businesses if it just looks like it's a terrible site to go visit. I think that you'll end up with more traffic here, more confusion. Let's suppose you had something go on, you need a police officer to show up. Where are they going to park the police car? Where there's just all sorts of reasons why the site just looks like it can't function with that level of parking spaces. Anyway, if you want a continuance to January 17th, I'll be glad to grant it, and I'll look open-mindedly at whatever you want to provide for additional information, but yeah, I guess you
got to address these problems. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to address these problems, and I don't know how to. I don't know where you would do it because it really needs to have that amount of parking on site. The times where I've gone there, and I usually do see like 10 cars stacked in the drive-through. Say I'm not waiting in that line. I pull over and go inside, but there's no spaces to park to pull over and go inside. Then I won't even tell you what happens when you get inside. Anyway.
I would concur with everything that's been said here and just point out that when the planning board originally approved this site, they were not happy with the density to begin with. And they was kind of conditional approving the 12 parking spots off-site to meet the parking requirements, and now taking away 12 on-site. In my opinion, that just overloads this site dramatically.
Yeah.
Understood. Yeah, I think for the parking calculation again, there's 27 on site where they're required the 23. So they're removing the 12.
Were they 27 on-site or 27 dedicated parking spaces?
27 on site. There's additional 12 off site.
Well,
I don't see 27 on site because you're taking 12 away and there's not 15 left.
Is there a chance to move the dumpster site?
Yeah, no, it's 27. You have the 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15
What
shown
did you
there.
just count as 9 and 10?
These two.
Well, those aren't parking spaces.
That's
Those
where
are
people
holding
wait for the
spaces.
food.
Forward. So those wouldn't be considered as well.
No,
Okay.
they're not striped. They're not.
I think one possible solution, now this is kind of out of your control, but if you could do some sort of arrangement with the Papagenos D'Angelo's to merge those together, perhaps that might work. I know that's obviously a different property, but I know they're changing their business model, but they're not using all their parking, and you wouldn't have to cross a major intersection. And the benefit to them, they would now have access through Dobson Way. As a retail broker, people don't like, medians, so it gives them a positive thing, but I could just be wishful thinking.
I never mind the idea of suggesting that neighbors try and talk to each other and see if they can work it out. As we're looking at that particular view, we asked the bank and the gas station to do that, and they weren't able to. But different people, different times, who knows? But yeah, if you had somehow something a little bit closer where people are not having to cross what's essentially a roadway. I know it's an internal parking lot roadway, but
It's a named road.
yeah. Is Dobson Way an actual town road?
I don't know the answer to that.
I believe
It's
so.
a
I don't
private
think it
road.
is.
It's a
Yeah.
private road. It's a private road.
Or that there was some way that pedestrians that parked in those 12 spaces at Shaw's could actually look like there was a way to get to the McDonald's. I know that there's a sign that says you can park there, but having gone there to go to the Thai restaurant place, you just don't go that far to park. If at that point you look at it and say, this place is too busy, I'm going to go over Burger King. Anyway, would the board undertake a motion to continue to January 17th?
I would so move,
No further notice to abutters.
with no further notice to abutters.
Is there a second for Brian's motion?
I'll second.
Lori has a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 700. Thank you for the presentation. I look forward to hearing from you again, and sorry for beating you up so bad.
Nope. Appreciate the feedback, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Item 9 on our agenda. As Life Goes On LLC as the applicant and Gordon House Assisted Living Residents as the owners. Review for consideration of final approval for an amendment to a conditionally approved site plan to raise and rebuild a portion of the existing building to convert it to a 24-bed assisted living facility. The parcel is located at 585 Daniel Webster Highway in the C1 Limited Commercial, R4 Residential, Aquifer Conservation, and Elderly Housing Overlay Districts. Tax map 6D1, lot 46, case planning board 2020-27. Robert, is there anything that we need to know for the applicant, or is this another continuance?
Another continuance to the 20th.
Okay. Another continuance to the 20th. Board members, what say you?
The 20th is getting too full, it sounds like. What do we got on there now?
This is to the 3rd. is
Yeah, I
what
have
it
January
asked for.
3rd in mind.
Oh, yeah, this is for the 3rd.
To January 3rd, 2023. So with that in mind, so a continuance to January 3rd, 2023, what is the will of the board?
Yeah.
Motion in a second.
Second, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? And that was with no further notice to abutters. I am sympathetic, Nelson, to your view of the 20th meeting, but I think the one advantage to that is that we've taken care of most of our CIP business, which usually lands on that December 20th meeting.
Yeah.
So at least that is not ahead of us for the 20th. I'm sorry, ahead of you for the 20th.
That spoils that argument.
Okay, next item on our agenda is discussion and possible action regarding other items of concern. Does anyone have any items of concern to discuss? Being none. The next item after that on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of November 15th, 2022. What is the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have one issue regarding the minutes on page 7.
Yes, sir.
Page 7, line 17. Um, and it's this sentence here. He also addressed the question about the use of red maples by stating that they are set back from the road and not in a place that should not be impacted by salt use. I think there's too many knots in there.
Yeah, it would take out the should not and make that a
Yes.
should.
Yeah.
Should.
And are not in a place that would be or should not be or should be impacted. There's too many knots.
Okay. Robert, you on that?
Noted.
Any other edits to the minutes? All right. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve with those changes, with that change.
Was there a second for Nelson's
I'll
motion?
second.
Second by
Um,
Brian?
Wait a minute, I should abstain from these. I wasn't present at that meeting. So I will withdraw my motion because I really shouldn't be moving.
So I'll move to approve the minutes pending Nelson's changes.
There's nobody else who was present at that meeting here tonight, so somebody has to second it who wasn't there.
And
You
for the
can
minutes
second it if
purposes,
you
it
want.
really doesn't matter.
You can vote on them.
You can vote on them.
Yeah, you can. There's no requirement that you can't vote on minutes just because you weren't there.
No, I just thought I shouldn't make the motion.
Right.
Since I,
Fair enough.
yeah,
All right, Brian makes the motion. Who seconds his motion?
I can second it.
Nelson seconds the motion.
Okay.
Okay. With that in mind, who approves the minutes as presented plus the one change Nelson suggested? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I abstain.
1, 2, 3 abstentions. So 4-0-3. Robert, you got the names of your abstentions?
I do not.
Counselor Koenig, Neil Anketel, and Jamie.
Maybe I should have abstained too, huh?
I wasn't there, and I voted.
No, because then it won't pass.
Um,
You can table the minutes to the next meeting.
Yeah, you certainly can. But just to elaborate a little bit on it, that sense that you can't vote on minutes because you weren't there is not a requirement. It's not what Robert's rules would require if we were following Robert's rules of order. Adopting minutes is just simply adopting the record of what happened at that meeting. And you don't have to have any eyes on the meeting to have said that's what happened. You're just saying this is the record of that meeting.
Correct. The same thing would basically apply the principles. Even if a board member wasn't at a first portion of a hearing, you could still read the information, follow up, and then attend and sit on that case when it comes back for a continuance.
Yeah, same concept, same idea. Now, people can recuse themselves on anything they want, but you don't have to, and at some level, you got to operate the board. There being no more business before this board, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Sounded like Jamie, but that was Nelson.
Well, you won't even.
Jamie's keeping quiet over there.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 7-0-0. Don't forget to turn your microphones off, and thank you all very much for the work.